What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today I have a few movies to talk about because your boy got to go to the movies 3 times this weekend, and I also caught up on the manga Astro Royale. So, before I get into all that, as always, if this is your first time here, then welcome. But if you're a returning listener and or a watcher, then welcome back. Y'all know here at Danny's to Talk, it's all about fatherhood and family, manga, anime, TV shows, movies, and some video games. So I hope everybody out there is doing well. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you are doing well. Um, I'm doing solid. I think that is the best word to describe me right now. I am doing solid. Overall, life and family are doing pretty good. Uh, kind of ramping up for the busy time of year with the kids. And as always, just real quick, anybody come here first, if you want to hear my thoughts on Transformers 1, The Wild Robot, Astro Royale, or anything else, there is timestamps in the description below. So jump ahead if you want to. But just to talk about life real quick, yeah, so this past week, my oldest son, my wife went to, there was a parent coach meeting and stuff, just kind of preparing for the oncoming season. And so Um, they gave us a very detailed schedule of everything, all the practices, the practice days, times, and the game days, times, all that stuff, starting at the end of this month, going through February. And I'll just say, and I tell my wife this, that pretty much holiday breaks will no longer be a thing for probably the next 4 to 5 years. Because now they were dealing with high school athletics, and of course, I know as somebody who played sports back in the day, my wife did as well. I've talked about this before, but I knew what to expect. But it's like now that the time and the moment is actually upon us, it is like, man. So yeah, it is like it's looking brutal. And keep in mind, this is just my son. This isn't this doesn't also include my twin daughters who are in the same grade. Because a little bit earlier, my wife, we had my son's schedule, and then we had our daughter's schedule, and going just day for day, week for week, bouncing back and forth. Because so the thing the last couple of years when they were in seventh and eighth grade, at least it was okay. They're mainly playing teams within our surrounding area, district, and stuff, which all of them are like 10 to 15 minutes max away. I think there might have been one that's maybe 20 minutes, but for the most part, they were like 10 to 15 minutes, if not, somewhere in that range or whatever. Um, and we knew that hey, this one day a week, they're both the boys and girls are playing the same school, but it's just okay. One week, son is going to be home, daughter's going to be away. Next week, vice versa. And so that was pretty. While it was still busy, it was still very manageable. Um, but now this year, my son will be playing one school. My daughters will be playing a whole other school, and so that's going to create and the radius for locations has greatly broadened. Because actually, let me see, where is, because one of the schools we got to play, I know for sure. Let me see, where is Denton Geyer High School? Okay, this is about 40 minutes, and that's with no traffic. That's 40 minutes for that game. Uh, and so yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that we were seeing. There was like 40 minutes to an hour away, and the times that these games are going to be at, some of them they're playing freaking like Friday morning. Which once again, I know that back in the day there were times where we went to school for a couple hours, and then hey, we the cool kids, we the athletes, we leaving class early. Sorry, classmates. We the cool kids, we the athletes. We got a game out of town, so we only here for a couple hours, and boom, we get on the bus, we traveling. That was fun as the kid. Now being in the parents' position, I'm like, oh no. So yeah, so we were looking, like I said, the point is the schedule is brutal. Brutal. Cause like my son, like Thanksgiving week, they're out of school that whole week, but my son has a game that's like an hour away that Monday, and then the game Tuesday is also pretty far away, and then they are off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but then they have practice that Saturday morning after Thanksgiving. Same thing with my daughters; they have a game that Monday, but I think they don't have nothing Tuesday, and then they also got practice that morning. And then after Christmas, I think they have Christmas Eve and Christmas off of no practice during the holiday break. But my son might have to go to is it Minnesota, Missouri, one of those, for a tournament, like literally the day after Christmas. So it was like, oh my god, and they have practice on literally New Year's Day. So it is like this is about to be insane. We're gonna have to have a family meeting to just kind of nail down the importance of our schedules and stuff because I had a moment the other day at work where, so for the most part, I would say like 90 to 95% of everybody within my direct team that I work with at work, everybody has kids. Some of the, especially because like I told y'all, I also work with a lot of older people as well. So some of them have kids my age, I'm 34, and thus they have grandkids. So, like I said, majority of the people I work with have kids, grandkids, and stuff, whatever. So everybody understands what I'm going through. Or a couple of my coworkers, our kids have played either against each other or have played together on teams and stuff over the years. So we all know the grind. Well, I have one coworker, whatever, doesn't have any kids yet. Um, and so me and one of my other coworkers, we were just all just talking the other day, and I gave him an actual breakdown of how my mornings have been these last few weeks because sometimes I have to be like, hey, just so that people don't get it twisted, I'm not showing up some days at 9 o'clock because I want to sleep in and just drag my feet in. It was like, nah, your boy will get up. Because I've told y'all before, when there's major projects going on, I've gone into work at 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes whatever, um, you know. But with all the changes that have happened with the high school sports and stuff, and then with my youngest Vash having to go to a new school, now this is kind of like the worst case scenario day, and this is typically a day where, um, depending on where my wife is subbing at or whatever, if she's subbing at our kids' middle school like she is this week, then that eliminates some things. But prime example, last week she was subbing at a whole different school far away from everything. So because she had to be where she needed to be at a certain time, I have the schedule flexibility for my job, as I've mentioned before. So just like I said, give y'all a little insight to Robert's morning and stuff. So usually wake up about 6:10ish or whatever, 6:10 to 6:15. I'm usually waking up the boys, because the middle son he leaves out the house by 6:40, 6:45 to get on the bus. Then I take my oldest Jay and youngest Vash. I drop Jay off at the high school for his morning practice, shoot over to the new elementary school, drop Vash off, then double back to the house, take my daughters to the middle school, then go. Then by the time I do all these routes, whatever, drop my daughters off at the middle school, go back to the high school to pick my son up to then take him to the middle school. Because remember, for context, like I've told y'all before, my kids within our school district, ninth grade is at the middle school. But if you're on JV, varsity, doing sports like that or whatever, well, the sports is at the high school. And so you have to kind of go back and forth. And so, yeah, so like I said, get up, middle boy leaves at 6:40, 6:45, gets on the bus. Oldest one to high school by 7 o'clock. Vash to his school by 7:15. Come back home, get the girls by 7:30, drop them off at the middle school, which is literally around the corner, which is awesome. Shoot back to the high school, get my oldest son, bring him back to the middle school that I just dropped my daughters off, and then I pull up lovely Google Maps, and 9 times out of 10, because by this point we're looking at between 8:30. By the time I get all this done or whatever, of course, traffic is probably at its worst. So some days the GPS says, hey, it is 45 minutes, maybe an hour to work. So I've already been up for 2 hours by this point, driving around with the kids and stuff, whatever. And then I got to drive 45 minutes to an hour to work, and then work, and then get off, come home, get everybody up that doesn't ride the bus home, which is usually the older three from the high school. And then, yeah. And so that is kind of like a semi-normal day for me. And that's just going to ramp up in the coming weeks once the actual basketball season starts and we actually have games and stuff whatever going on and weekend practices and all that stuff. So yeah, so once I kind of gave my coworker that context for that, he was like, "Oof, okay, all right." I thought I had it bad. I had to get up and take my dogs out in the morning. I was like, "Nah, bro, you do not understand." So yeah, so saying all that to say, it's about to get really busy, and so more than likely, I'm probably gonna have to, for the most part, probably record these episodes earlier than what I used to, whatever, and just schedule it out, which is something I probably should be doing. Though I do a lot of times like to wait until the night before I want to post an episode to record, just in case if hey maybe I've watched something new or some breaking news has come up that I want to talk about, you know. But just being realistic with how this schedule is looking, I ain't gonna be able to do that too often or whatever. So I'll probably have to like just record stuff like over the weekend, probably Sunday night or something, and then just schedule it out for Wednesdays. I've been trying to hit Wednesdays. This will probably be out Thursday, but it is what it is. Speaking of Thursdays, shout out to the homie Lisa from The Wonder of Anime, because her podcast is back for a new season. So just had to give the homie a shout out. But yeah, so other than that, like I said, life is more or less okay. So kind of always working and building, trying to do better, trying to be better. But yeah, so let's go ahead and dive into some of the things I want to talk about. Up top, I want to just kind of put a couple of things to watch on your radar. And of course, these are things that greatly interest me, as I've just talked about for the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes of me with my family and sports, whatever. So there are 2 documentary series out right now that might be of interest to anybody out there if you enjoy sports or if you're a parent of child athletes, student athletes, and stuff. So one of these I talked about before is the LSU the Money Game series that is on Amazon Prime, and this is the one that follows. It was Flau'jae, Angel Reese, Jaden Daniels, and can't remember the young lady, the gymnast name, but basically following their journey over the last like 3 years or so, whatever, since the NIL, name, image, likeness rule went into effect, and stuff, and how that kind of changed the game and stuff, whatever. So that's out. And then this morning on Netflix, the series called Starting Five, that followed five NBA players during the 2023 into 24 NBA season. So the one from last year, and it is LeBron, Jimmy Butler, uh, Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards, and Zabonis. And so it follows all five of them throughout this last year or whatever. And I started watching a little bit of the first episode. I'm already very interested in that stuff because I love the behind the scenes stuff and just hearing the different stories and stuff. Because, like, prime example, I had no clue, or maybe very little clue, or forgot that Jimmy Butler has kids, a daughter that's older, like I think she's about 5 or so, and then a son that's like 2 or 3. So, but yeah, so just want to put that on y'all's radars for people that might be interested in that stuff. So, um, other couple little just like quick news beat things. Uh, so, and this is gaming related. So the other day, I'm at work, I'm on Twitter, or I had Twitter open in the browser off to the side, and I see Red Dead Redemption trending. I'm just thinking like, oh, okay, people just talking about the game, as stuff like that happens from time to time. And nope, it is I click on the trending tab, and first thing I see is a trailer from Rockstar Games. They are finally bringing Red Dead Redemption 1 to PC after 14 years. Because remember, the original Red Dead Redemption came out on freaking PS3 and Xbox 360 in, I think it was May 2010. So, yeah. And the even crazier thing is that not only after 14 years they're finally putting it out, they're putting it out at the end of this month. Which is probably one of like the busiest months we've had all year, between all the freaking releases that I talked about last episode or a couple episodes ago. Um, which, speaking of which, just as a reminder, for like a few big games that came out this week, Silent Hill 2 Remake, uh, Dragon Ball Z, what is it called? Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and then Metaphor ReFantazio. So all three of those games have been reviewing very well. Um, I've been watching clips of people playing the Silent Hill 2 remake. I don't do scary games too often. uh, People have been playing the early access version of Dragon Ball, and so that's been very cool and very nostalgic. Seeing all the gameplay clips of that and things of that nature, and then of course Metaphor. Like I mentioned last week, there is a demo out that is like the first prologue of the game, and that, depending on how you play the demo, it could range from 5 to 10 hours. So if you're curious about the game and want to try it out, hey, there's a free demo out there. But yeah, and speaking of demos, I've y'all know I like to just randomly browse like the PSN and Switch when my Switch is working properly, but mainly the PlayStation Network, just for see what new demos and stuff are out there, whatever. And there was a freaking demo for a freaking Smurfs 3D platforming game. Okay, yeah, it is called the Smurfs Dreams. Basically, Gargamel puts like some sleepy stuff into the Smurfs food, and so you play as I guess the one Smurf who didn't get drugged. uh, and it's a 3D platform or whatever, and I was like, yo, this is pretty freaking cool, and it has 2-player co-op as well. I didn't get a chance to try out the co-op, but I did play a little bit of the game, and it's pretty competent. Um, and stuff. So obviously not as polished as like Astrobot or whatever, but I would say it's definitely way better than I would have expected if you told me like, hey, there's a Smurfs platforming game out right now, whatever. But yeah. So the Smurfs Dreams, like I said, there is a free demo for it out right now. So hey, check it out. Because like I said, that was definitely a very big surprise to me when I saw that. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, and I was looking at the screenshots for it. I was like, let me download this and see what's going on with this. So, but yeah. So just want to shout out those few gaming things. Um, and yeah. So with that being said, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and touch on a few of the movies I watched. So, like I said, uh, the stars aligned, and we didn't have any sports stuff really going on this weekend. And so, only thing like my wife and the kids had went to her cousin's baby shower on Sunday or whatever. So they all left to go celebrate that. But over the course of the days or whatever, I went and saw a movie Friday night, Saturday evening, and then Sunday night or Sunday evening. And so yeah, so I was like, hey, this is a very rare occasion where it's a trifecta. It was almost four, because I almost thought about sneaking off to go see Joker, which I don't know, but I think I still want to see that at some point to form my own opinion, just for the sake of it, because I enjoyed the last Joker movie, and even though this one's supposed like a musical or something, whatever, I still kind of want to at least like make that judgment call for myself, like I did with the Borderlands movie. but um, but yeah, so let's start with this one first. So the Wild Robot. So this is one that I knew very little about going into it. Like I don't even know if I really even saw any trailers for it or whatever, but I saw just like the poster and stuff of it, and I was like, okay, this seems like something I would be interested in. And so I saw it getting a lot of good reception and stuff last week. So Friday night, when I saw that my schedule was pretty clear, I was like, you know what? let, let me go and check this movie out. And so I did. And so I'm not going to spoil too much of this movie. I just want to just give y'all just a basic idea of it. Um, just because honestly, like the movies I'm gonna talk about, I highly encourage y'all to go and watch for yourselves. But the Wild Robot, so it is actually based off of a book series by the author Peter Brown. So I think it's 2 to 3 books, I believe. And so it is based off of like a children's book series, and it basically follows this robot. So it is kind of like the distant future, and they have these kind of like helper robots, that help people do different tasks and different stuff, whatever. And so for whatever reason, this robot was on track for delivery, or whatever. Something went wrong, and it crash landed on this forest island that has no people, only animals. And so the movie pretty much just opens up with this robot kind of walking up to the animals, freaking them out, obviously, basically like, hi, introducing itself. I'm here to help. What's the task or something you need help with? Yada, yada, yada. And so eventually, between all the animals constantly being scared and different things, the robot basically takes upon itself to study the environment. And so the robot literally sits there for days, weeks, maybe even months. I don't know how much time has lapsed while the robot is sitting there. And so yeah, so then after the robot studies the environment and the animals and stuff, whatever, it learns to communicate with the robots. And so that's we get introduced to a fantastic cast of characters. So just to kind of like name off some of the cast, uh, Lupita, she is Roz the robot. You got Pedro Pascal as Fink the fox. Kit Connor as Bright Bill, which is a goose. Uh, Catherine O'Hare as Pinktail, a Virginia possum. Bill Nye as Longneck, a Canadian goose. Stephanie Hisu as Vantra. Oh yeah, the enemy robot. Mark Hamill as Thorn, a grizzly bear. Matt Berry as Paddler, a beaver, and Ving Rhames as Thunderbolt, a peregrine falcon, just to name some of the voice cast. Um, but yeah, so that was like very dope. And so yeah, so then it is just this robot communicates with these creatures or whatever. A situation happens, and the robot ends up having to take care of and raise. Its task ends up being to raise this young goose. But what happens when you have a robot raising a goose? You get a very odd goose. Uh, but yeah, and so it is just this very awesome, heartfelt journey of this robot living in the wilderness with amongst all these animals and stuff, trying to teach and raise this young goose, um, while also the animals and stuff starting off fearful of the robot starts to learn to grow and accept, and they start working together and different things like that. And of course, some things happen, but I won't go too deep into things. But this movie was so good. It was so good. Definitely pulled at the heartstrings a couple times, because it is a I can't remember if I said this or not, but it is a DreamWorks production. So like the visual quality and stuff is there. I have so loved all of the amazing artwork that is for the movie online and stuff. So um, one other dope thing I just want to shout out. So the author Peter Brown, he did this like very awesome post talking about how it started, how it went, and how it's going, and kind of how this idea and stuff all kind of started with this sketch that was done of this robot in a tree, and that gave him the ideas that led to the Wild Robot book series, and now this very awesome movie. So yeah, so the Water Robot, like I said, is one that I highly recommend, um, and I feel like it'll be equally good for both adults and children as well. Of course, it does have some kind of more like darker tones sometimes, so not sure about like a super young child, but definitely, I would say maybe like 8, 9 years old and up. I feel like, um, because I've seen screenshots and posts online of like different classes across the nation where teachers or schools are taking entire classes and stuff to see the movie, which it makes sense because some of the show times when I was looking like trying to like figure out what days and times I want to see whatever, I would notice like a solid chunk of the theater already bought out, which is weird because it's like, okay, it's not just you know a couple spots here and there, but it was like no, like two solid full rows bought up or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's probably a class or something, whatever, that is going to see it. But yeah, so the Wild Robot, highly recommended. This is one I probably would watch again because I went and saw this one solo because there are some movies that I'm like, oh yeah, for sure, I can take some of my kids to go see this, whatever. But sometimes, especially when you got several kids like myself, uh, it is very costly to just make a gamble on a whim of like, oh yeah, let me take two, three, five kids with me at, potentially $15 a pop on this movie or whatever that may or may not even be for them or whatever. So, but in hindsight, it's like, okay, now I know and I can recommend it to the others out there. So, next thing I saw from the Wild Robot, um, sticking on brand with robots, Transformers 1. Now, this is one that I have been waiting a couple of weeks to go see because I think I might have mentioned before that some of my kids, specifically my oldest son, you know, like sometimes when you have a kid, especially because like I'm a pretty quiet person, my oldest son is a pretty quiet person, and so a lot of times, even like when we're traveling in the car, going to practices, games and stuff, whatever, we might not really even talk much, whatever. We just both just chill in silence together. Well, I've learned over the years, especially as he's gotten older, he just turned 16 last month, and he's, speaking up a little bit more, which I'm proud of. There'll be times to where I just be, I'll dip out late at night or whatever. Okay, I got some free time. All right, I'm going to the theater. I don't tell nobody. My wife knows, obviously, but I'm gone. And then, I'll find out later that my son will come in, like, ask mommy, like, oh, where he go? Like, oh, he went to the movies. And he be bummed. And so I try to be a little bit more proactive and at least asking him, certain movies or whatever. Because, like I said, some stuff I'm like, okay, 9 times out of 10, he's probably not going to want to watch this or that. But some I'm like, okay, I'll at least toss the idea out there. So a few weeks ago, I tossed it out there. The idea, I was like, hey, cause I don't even know like if he's really ever seen any Transformer stuff, whatever. But I was like, hey, would you be interested in this movie? And he was like, maybe. And I was like, hey, it's called Transformers One. You know, think on it or whatever. Because at the time, this was like weeks before it was coming out. Or I was like, hey, but just let me know or whatever. And so a couple weeks done went by. I finally got some free time, and I'm like, okay, come hella high water, your boy is going to see this movie. So I was like, okay. I went and asked him, like, hey, I'm supposed to go see this movie. Do you want to go? Yes or no? And he said, yeah. So like I said, I did the Wild Robot Friday night, Saturday evening. Me and him went and watched this, and this movie is freaking dope. So freaking dope. So this movie is basically a origin story of Optimus Prime and Megatron. So just for a little bit of context of my personal history with Transformers, so I grew up watching Transformers as a kid. Uh, the old, primarily, probably the earliest thing that I for sure have memories of is like the Transformers Beast Wars. I freaking loved Beast Wars, them transforming into animals and stuff. My favorite was Cheetor. Loved that series back in the day. And then, of course, growing up, getting to see all the Michael Bay live action movies and stuff were super dope to a point. Um, I loved that Bumblebee movie they did some years back. And then there was like another Transformers movie not that long ago. Okay, so just kind of looking over this list of movies. So, yes, okay, yeah. Yeah, it's Transformers 1, Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, The Last Night, 2017, Bumblebee. Okay, so only one. Okay, so I didn't see Rise of the Beast. They came out last year. For some reason, I feel like there was way more movies than what this is, but one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Okay, that ain't bad. But yeah, cause yeah, the first live action Transformers came out in '07. I was 17. Man. So 17, 19, 21, 24, 27. So this came out, let me see, Transformers The Last Night came out June 21st, 2017. So so this came out literally probably a week or so before I got laid off from my job at the time at Microsoft, and then which was also a month before my wedding. which is also the same year that my wife was pregnant with Ash. So that was a very chaotic year for me. But the following year, Bumblebee came out. That came out December 21st. So they came out during Christmas time. So yeah, that was a nice little escape afterwards. And then, like I said, I just didn't get a chance to see Rise of the Beast last year, which I'll probably make time for that at some point. But but yeah, so all that to say, circling back to Transformers One. So yeah, so that's kind of like my history with the franchise. I've never read any of the comic stuff, whatever. I did love, cause I was telling my son about this in the car. Uh, the Fall of Cybertron and War for Cybertron games that came out back on like PS3, 360 era. Them games was so freaking cool, and I think that they might be bringing them back through maybe backwards compatibility on Game Pass or something, whatever. I hope, because those games are freaking dope, especially like playing freaking multiplayer game as a Transformer. Yeah, and y'all know your boy. I'm primarily a single player guy, but playing these freaking Transformer game, it was so dope. And then like being in firefights, transforming into a car, zooming around the maps and stuff, whatever, flipping out of the transformation onto like the capture point or to pop shoot somebody, then up, they got backup coming, transform again, speed off across the map. So fun. So anyway, so all that to say, uh, this movie was really dope, man. Like I said, like getting a chance to like see and learn some lore and backstory on, like I said, as somebody who is not ingrained in the Transformers comics or any other books or anything like that beyond, like I said, like Beastars and the live action movies and stuff, whatever. Um, I'm not too familiar with a lot of like the planetary lore and history of these characters or whatever. So it was really cool seeing Optimus and Megatron before they even had those names, and they were both just like miners working in like the mines of Cybertron as best friends they met through work or whatever, and just kind of seeing over the course of this movie um, their relationship and bond change over time, and eventually by the end of the movie it leads to them you know now having their names and forms that we know them as now. But this movie, because like it I don't even know, because I don't even know how to like really describe the visual look of it. It's kind of like some form of like a CGI thing, but it's hard to describe. But it looks really good. It looks really good. Like I said, it definitely looks different and stuff when you're looking at the poster and stuff, whatever, like glimpses of the trailer. But I promise y'all, if y'all like Transformers or have any nostalgia for Transformers, I highly recommend going to watch this movie, because it does like a very dope job of straddling the line of having some fun and lighthearted moments, seeing Optimus talking Megatron and some of these other guys into his shenanigans and crazy scenarios and stuff, whatever. But then when stuff hits the fan and like dudes getting sliced and diced, no holds barred, it can get pretty violent and pretty brutal and stuff, whatever, which is pretty typical for some of the Transformers stuff in history. But this really goes there and does that. And like I said, like getting a chance, like I said, just seeing the growth of these characters over the course of this movie and learning a lot more history of the background and lore of the planet of Cybertron, and learning about the first the original primes and like the legends and all this stuff was like super dope, because I didn't know a lot of the stuff, whatever. Um, but yeah, it was a fantastic movie to watch. And the cool thing about both Transformers 1 and the Wild Robot is that they are both under 2 hours. So pretty quick and sweet, but they both pack a lot of punch into their respective runtimes. And so I shouted out the voice cast on the Wild Robot. So the voice cast on Transformers. So just kind of shout out some of the main ones. So Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime, Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron, Scarlett Johansson as Alita, Kegel Keegan Michael Key, gosh darn tongue tied name, as Bumblebee, Steve Buscemi as Starscream, Lawrence Fishburne as Alpha Trion, and John Hamm as freaking Don Draper as Sentinel Prime. Like that is like a star-studded cast. Um, and there's several other actors and stuff in there, but I just want to just kind of shout out those ones. But yeah, Transformers One, fantastic. I super highly recommend going and giving this movie a shot. I know that there's a Twitter account that is basically just like dedicated to pushing the Transformers One agenda, and I want to do my small part to push it as well. Because, like I said, this movie was fantastic, and I hope that it's done decently. And I know it's opening up, I think, in Europe and the UK this weekend. But I hope that this movie does phenomenal when it's all said and done, so that we continue to get more stuff like this. So, but yeah, so shout out to Transformers One. This was a freaking fantastic movie, and I highly recommend uh, y'all go and check it out. So, final movie that I saw this weekend. I saw freaking Look Back. So, Look Back is a anime movie based off of the one shot manga produced by Tatsuki Fujimoto. And if you're like, huh, that name sounds familiar, yes, that is the same author who created Chainsaw Man and Fire Punch back in the day. But like I said, most people know him nowadays for freaking Chainsaw Man. So after part one of Chainsaw Man manga, Fujimoto worked on a couple of one shots, and Look Back was one of them. Super awesome. I think it's like a 70 page, 150 to 70 page one. Super cool. And so they finally they turned it into a movie, and we were able to get into theaters because it almost didn't get into theaters because of how short the runtime is. But I think thankfully the fan demand and stuff was heard, and so uh, some moves were made, and they were able to get it out in theaters. Um, and so I'm trying to think how to really describe Look Back. I guess in a nutshell, Look Back follows a a young girl who is in middle school at the start of this, who is basically a aspiring manga artist, and so she is drawing these kind of like very short form, uh, kind of like manga slash comic strips for the school paper and stuff. So she's doing that every week for a while, and then there is this other student that is kind of like like a shut in from home that gets the opportunity to also draw within the newspaper or the school paper, and so that back and forth between the two because of the detail of the art of this other person pushes our MC to continue to want to practice and to be better and stuff like that. So it's kind of like this story of these two young girls who form a bond over becoming manga creators and kind of like the ups and downs of that relationship. And so that's kind of where I will leave it at because I don't want to get too much into it. But was adapted beautifully. Um, I also appreciated after the credits of the movie, they had a interview with the director of the movie, as well as the two main voice actors. So it was very cool to get to watch this movie and then get a pretty in depth behind the scenes discussion with the director, with the voice cast, and learning about, they talk about everything from the voice casting stuff to production with animating certain things and adapting it and yada yada yada. So this one had like a very short release window originally, to where it was only for my area up here in the DFW. It was only in theaters for like a couple of hours Sunday night and then Monday, and that was it. But I think because it sold really well over the weekend, they're giving it more time slots and stuff over this coming week, which is very awesome. So yeah, so go and check that out. Look back. Um, I'm trying to think. Other than that, like, cause I was kind of like looking at upcoming movies and stuff, and I'm like, okay, there's a couple things I might want to go see. Like I said, I still kind of want to see Joker, but I know that's also a very a very long time commitment with that movie. I think that's like knocking on what's what 2 hours and 10 minutes. Okay, so 2 hours and some change. Uh, Sorry, I'm looking at seeing what movies are coming up. I know the My Hero Academia, your next movie is coming out Friday. I'll probably figure out some time to go see that. Let's see. Uh, Piece by Piece, that Pharrell Lego movie is also coming out this weekend. Seems interesting. Terrifier 3. I'm not into spooky movies, but if you are, that might be up your alley. And then aside from that, that's kind of, I don't think there's much else for like the next couple of weeks that are coming up. I think I'll probably take my daughters in November to go see Wicked, because that looks very awesome. But yeah. So aside from that, that is it for my movie adventures uh, this weekend. So going on from there, I kind of just wanted to just shout out some of the announcements that Viz made this past week. Before I finish off the episode talking about Astro Royale, so just want to shout out, so because they did like a announcement of titles and stuff that they're going to be releasing next summer. So let's talk about a couple of them. Okay, thank you, Viz, for making everything in a handy, putting everything in a handy dandy article. So, like I said, I'm gonna kind of breeze through this because I just want to just shout out some like the main ones that stick out to me. So the first one was a Tokyo Fears Rhapsody, or Rhapsody. So this is one from the same author who did Momo the Blood Taker. So Momo the Blood Taker was a kind of like a was it vampire? Do 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 do. I believe it was vampires. But either way, um, this is one that I enjoyed a couple of years ago that I had read the first volume of. And they just circle back and finish it or whatever because I really enjoyed it. But anyway, this is from the same author as that, so that's coming out next year. This is probably the biggest one for me, The Bugle Call. So, and I guess, let me go back to Tokyo Fears Rhapsody. So the synopsis for this one is mighty monster Hachiro just wants to eat human sweets in peace, but between fighting ghoulish foes and evading his mad scientist creator, life is anything but quiet. That is actually my first time reading that synopsis because I was planning on just jumping into it, but that's funny. All right, so the Bugle Call, Song of War. Uh, Luca, a bugler in a mercenary company, wants to escape war, but his new supernatural powers force him to become a muse of massacre. This is one I think I might have mentioned before, but this one is freaking dope. I started reading this one earlier this year. Shout out to Yato and Knox. Uh, because they put this on my radar. Cause like man, like the abilities and stuff of this series are so freaking cool. And even like the MC being able to do the abilities that he can do with this freaking horn, like music horn or whatever, super cool. Let me see. Dr. Stone. JoJo art book thing. Astro Royale. This is a series I'm gonna talk about in a minute from the same creator as Tokyo Revengers. What is this? Girl Crush. Twisted Wonderland. Uh, Ultraman. Along Came a Spider-Man. Spider-Man Kizuna. Not So Shoujo Love Story. That looks fun, like a funny cover. Cosmos. This is the next one that's kind of like up in on my radar for a while. Cade has always had an uncanny ability to tell fact from fiction. That ability gets put to the test when he's hired by an extraterrestrial insurance investigation company. So this is one that I've heard a lot of great things about as well. So I was very happy to see this on the list. Spy Family Mission Report. What is this? Sumiki Ogami's Not So Ordinary Life. There's something strange afoot at Utika's school. Vampires, ogres, and supernatural beings walk the halls. He's drawn to a wolf girl, Sumiki. Can she help him overcome his timidness? This is another one. Rai. Deep in debt, life can't get any worse for Sumire until she wakes up with a monstrous new arm and a foul-mouthed voice in her head. It's time to battle deadly alien threats, all to pay her bills. This it might be a fun one. Myself and a lot of people say like when we first saw this cover, definitely gave kind of like Dora Hidoro or Die Dark vibes. Let me see. The Horror of Heron, The Boy and the Heron, Ponyo. What is this one? Snow Angel. For years, Muka has cared for her family and endured her grandmother's constant criticism. She loses hope of an escape. That is until her childhood friend Yuto appears one day and inspires her to live for herself. Let me see. Demon Prince of Momochi House. And the other big one was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 7, Steel Ball Run, got picked up. And yeah, nothing else from any of the rest of these. Yeah. So like I said, my big highlights, like I said, for sure, like I said, this one I'm kind of interested in, but it'll be Cosmos and the Bugle Call for sure. Are like the biggest news highlights for me from that batch. But yeah, so speaking of manga, so so I think I gave them a shout out last week, but like I said, Yato and Nox, their manga podcast, Shonen Pulse. So like I mentioned last week, on that podcast, they talk about, Chainsaw Man, Centuria, Dan, Gachi Akuda, Ranger Reject, Ichi the Witch, Astro Royale, and Kakurabachi. So, I'm keeping current with Centuria and Ichi the Witch, which both great chapters this week. But Ranger Reject, I think I'm like over 50 chapters behind, almost 60. I think I last read around like chapter like 95 or something. I remember it was under 100, so way behind on that one. Kagurabachi, I've read like a few chapters of, and they were pretty solid, just ain't caught up on it. And Gachi Akuda, I'm also ultra behind on. I think I maybe made it to like the 30s or 40s chapter wise with that, and they're on chapter 112. Speaking of which, real quick, Oshi no Ko manga just got announced to be ending in 4 chapters. So, and I am like 50 chapters behind because I haven't read it in over a year. So I'm gonna try to hopefully get caught up with that because it'll be ending like mid to late November by the chapter releases and stuff. But saying all that to say, I finally listen to the Shonen Pulse podcast, it, and hearing the guys on there talk about them enjoying Astro Royale. And so I'm like, because I've thought about it before, probably at the time. I'm pretty sure because I think I recorded all those episodes, but I wasn't the biggest fan of how Tokyo Revengers ended. Like really good at the beginning, had like a really strong arc at a point, had a point where it probably should have stopped, but then it kept going, and we got the ending that we got. So you know, not saying that I felt like that Wakui couldn't do, you know, another good series or whatever, but it just made me hesitant to want to just immediately out the gate like, oh hey, new series from the creator of Tokyo Revengers coming over to Shonen Jump, and so I was like, maybe I'll kind of just like take a wait and see approach with this one. And so honestly, I think in the long run, my hesitancy was the best move for me because I got to read, because what, chapter 24 just came out this week. And so I got to read 24 chapters pretty much straight over the course of a couple of days this past weekend. Cause I don't know, like I said, I had some free time Saturday evening or Saturday night, and I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and start this, whatever. And okay, so the setup for Astro Royale is that it follows so the main character, which I don't know anybody's names, I'm forgetting all these names. Okay, Hibaru. His name is Hibaru. He is the youngest son of a Yakuza family. And he is the only biological son as well to the head of the Yakuza family. All his other brothers are adoptive brothers, and I think there is 11 of them on top of him, so he's the 12th. But so yeah, so there's 11 um, older adoptive brothers or whatever, and so the series basically kind of starts off with the father has passed, and there is now a battle for succession of some of the brothers feeling like they deserve to be the new head of the family over Hibaru. And so things happen, and a freaking asteroid hits their town or whatever. And in the aftermath of that asteroid hitting and stuff, or meteor showers leading to an asteroid hitting, um, a lot of people in this town gain various abilities. And so that is the kind of setup of this. Is it is this family feud mixed in with these supernatural abilities. And so this has been super fun to read because, like I said, like immediately, like out the gate, they get your attention with, okay, there's this family, all this feuding going on between these siblings, and then it's like boom, it's like, okay, a little bit of backstory of who these characters are, the situation, yada yada yada, and then boom, asteroid hits, all hell breaks loose, and then we're off to the races. And so this is one, like I said, I am very very happy that I decided to give a fair shake to, because I like the look of it. Like obviously, if you've read or watched Tokyo Revengers, he has a very distinct art style, so you can immediately tell when you look at the characters, like, oh, okay, yeah, these are some Tokyo Revengers uh, style characters or whatever. But I do also like that there are a lot of adult characters and stuff in there as well, because with the MC being the youngest, I think he is maybe 17 or so, and so a lot of his older siblings, they're in their mid to late 20s, whatever, maybe even older. And so I enjoy that aspect of it versus like Tokyo Revengers started off with everybody being supposed to be middle school, 13, 14, years old, 12-year-olds looking like grown men and stuff. So, but yeah, I really like the range of abilities that a lot of these characters have because like the MC, he kind of has like a punch style ability, whatever. But even with that, there are layers to it, to where it kind of has like three levels to it, and he's learning to adjust how much force and power he can use for his punch. But the other cool thing with their abilities is that basically during the meteor shower, whatever, it's like, okay, hey, there's a meteor shower, make a wish, or whatever. And so if you were holding on to an item that you cherish when you made your wish, then that item is basically the key to you being able to use your powers. So, like example, one of the characters um, has like a set of like boxing gloves. That's what he wears to activate his ability. Uh, uh, Habaru, he has this kind of like this bullet that he wears on a necklace he got from his father or whatever. When he's holding that, his arm transforms and he does like crazy punches and stuff. Um, and there are some other even crazier abilities that I don't even want to spoil and give away. But but like I said, just like as I've read through this in this chunk, whatever, um, Regal or like when that chapter title was up there, whatever, during this moment, I was like, yo, yeah, I really like with this main character, his sense of pride and stuff. But yeah, so okay, so I will kind of spoil just because it's in this color spread. There's a set of twins who have a shared ability to where they can basically like remote pass things to each other, whatever. And so you're kind of like, okay, whatever, Robert, that's whatever. But that extends to items as well as people. So if if like one of the brothers is in building one, and then the other one is like at a hideout across town or whatever, well, hey, if they need to get something to the hideout or whatever, then hey, the brother just holds the item and it teleports to the other brother or whatever. So like little stuff like that. Um, just like I said, to kind of give you an idea of like how some of these abilities and stuff go. But right now, with where and why I said this was a great time for me to catch up, is that right now in the story, um, we're kind of getting a little bit more insight and background into potentially how this incident happened, because we kind of got like a little bit of like little hints and stuff of, hey man, this there might be more to this meteor shower and this asteroid hitting than what you initially think and stuff like that. So that's kind of, we're kind of getting a little bit more juicier details and backgrounds and everything. And I do enjoy another little detail. Whoops. Okay, that was weird. Another little detail with this is that they're pretty good about doing uh, name cards for the characters or whatever. Kind of reminds me of how, at least in the anime for My Hero Academia, a lot of the characters as they come up or whatever, it'll have like, oh, um, Bakugo Katsuki, quirk name or quirk ability, yada yada yada. And so they'll kind of do this where they're like, okay, this is this character, this is the seventh son, or this is the second son of the so and so family, or hey, this character is so and so's parent, or this character is, part of some other Yakuza clan or whatever. So, yeah, so all in all, like I said, I mainly just wanted to talk about it, just like I said, just from a sense of encouraging others to give it a shot, because with My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen and stuff ending recently, I know some people are kind of like looking for those newer and other series to give a shot and to fill some of those voids or whatever. And so, like I said, Astro Royale, like I said, with it being at 24 chapters, I think that's a good amount for you to kind of have like for like a solid binge over the course of like a weekend or a few days or whatever to kind of be able to judge. Because I don't know if I would have liked reading this week to week to week the whole way. Like I said, like now there is some good stuff that happens in that first chapter that did really pull me in, but I think even just the prospect of knowing like, okay, I'm not having to wait another week at the beginning is okay. I'm wait for a while, let them build up. Okay, boom, now I'm jumping in. So, but yeah, so Astro Royale, super dope, super fun. Highly recommend y'all give it a shot. Um, so yeah, so aside from that, I don't really know. There is some other stuff I want to talk about, but I'm getting tired. My eyes kind of glazing over a little bit. I'm about to fall asleep here in my computer. But um, but I will just shout out in closing because there was oh, I caught up on Freerun. I'm not gonna talk about it in detail or whatever, but I was 3 chapters behind because a new chapter came out the other day or whatever, and so I'm caught up. I read those 3 chapters, and so yeah, Freerun is another one that I think it's just good to have a few chapters at a time to read. But yeah, things are really ramping up with the arc and the situation going on in Freerun right now. So highly recommend catching up on and reading that. Um, Another series that I had checked out, do 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 do, Magical Girl Dandelion. So, so the synopsis or the kind of description of this is magical girls and villains are enemies, but can neophyte Tampopo's bond with the villain Shade topple that destiny? So this one, I don't know, like I said, it was just something very unique to where this like villainous enemy had been kind of protecting this girl her whole life, and so one day, her magical girl abilities awaken within her, and it kind of leads to like some headbutting and stuff. So, but I don't know, like I'm doing a horrible job of really describing this one, but it is a pretty solid one that that I liked the 3 or so chapters of it that I had read. And then the last one I had checked out manga wise, if I can get it to load. It's called Smother Me, and it kind of follows this young assassin, which I might have talked about this last week, but but in the oppressive city of Detroit, Akio is sold by his dad and becomes an assassin known as Snake. Day after day, he simply follows orders, but suddenly he meets a blind lady, a blind girl, who finds new meaning in life. So, this one, those 2 chapters, very good so far. Very good. So that's all I'm gonna really say on that. But yeah, aside from that, I have, and I'm just gonna mention this super briefly because I'm really tired. uh, I have checked out a few more fall anime, just to kind of just shout them out. I'll talk about them more on another day. But I watched the first couple episodes of Orb on the Movements of the Earth. Very good. First 2 episodes, which I didn't even realize that they had released 2 episodes originally or whatever, because you know Netflix sometimes when you click on a show it just takes you just straight into the episode or whatever. So I watched the episode, credits rolled, and I'm okay. I exited out and I closed and went online, saw people talking about it. I was like, what? So yeah, so they released 2 episodes of Orb. Very good, very faithful adaptation of the manga that I've had back here behind me this whole time. But and I think I might have said it, I can't remember, but if I did, forgive me, but they already confirmed that it's going to be 25 episodes, so it should adapt the full manga, which is going to be very dope to see. But yeah, so I watched a couple of the episodes of that. Uh, Goodbye Dragon Life was good as well, and Yakuza Fiance. That was a really good debut and stuff as well. But anywho, I'm gonna save more talk of that for another day. I need to hop off, give me a little snack, and lay down because your boy is tired. But I think that'll do it for this episode on the things I wanted to talk about. Checking my list, and yeah. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching and or listening. Let me know your thoughts on anything I talked about. Have you read or interested in Astro Royale? Did you get a chance to go and watch The Wild Robot or Transformers 1 or Look Back or anything else new that you've watched recently that you want to just share with me? So let me know in the comments below or feel free to hit me up. My DMs are open on all my social media platforms. But with that being said, I'm going to end this here. As always, treat yourself to something nice. Read some manga, watch some anime TV shows and movies, and of course, play some video games because there's lots of them. And of course, beyond that, live your best life. And with that, I am out. Y'all have an awesome day and or week, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Y'all be easy. Peace.